What was the experience like for those who have been in a coma? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 10. I was placed in a medically induced coma due to head trauma. To me, I was asleep. To the outside world, 2 weeks was passing. I can never remember being aware of the outside world. However, I can remember vividly dreaming about going down a river in a boat, stopping for fish and chips, and somehow tasting the salt on the chips. It seemed very realistic at the time. Mate, I think you just went to Birmingham. Number 9. I was in a coma for 14 days following abdominal surgery in which an error was made that resulted in me having sepsis. There were 5 surgeries performed while I was in coma that were necessary to save my life. I was aware of what was happening around me at some level. I knew I was in a medical facility and that I was very thirsty, but no one would give me anything to drink. I had very strange dreams that to this day I don't know if some of these events actually happened or were a dream. In the 5 days before I became fully awake, I was aware of conversations happening around me. I knew I was sick, was on a ventilator, my family was there constantly, and that medical staff were working to help me improve my health. I knew my youngest son always sat with me at night. When he arrived, he always asked me to do specific tasks, such as smile or squeeze his hand. The evening I woke up, he asked me to open my eyes. It took me a long time, but I did it. I had no idea why I was ill, how old I was, or specifically where I was. Waking up turned out to be the easy part. I was on a ventilator and needed to gain strength. Learn to sit up, stand, walk, feed myself, care for myself. I was transferred to a rehab center for a month to relearn all these skills. I have lasting effects from this time that will always be with me, but I am grateful to be alive. If you have a relative in a coma, talk to them. It is very important that they know you are there and that you love them. Tell them happy, uplifting things and things you will do together when they wake up. They will figure out that they are sick and gather their strength to recover if they are able. Number 8. Lots of head pain. The worst headache ever. Falling. Then beeping. Curtain noises. Scrapping sounds of things on floors. Beeping. Voices loudly talking at. People asking me questions. Fingers being snapped at me from different areas. Being unable to move my arms to wipe whatever it is on my face off of my face, but wanting to very badly. Strings. Wires. Feeling tubes being slid out of my throat and removed from my face. Opening my eyes to way too much light. Seeing shapes of people and sliding curtains and machinery and finding the sources of all the beeps, fingers snapping, voices, arms strapped in, tubes and veins, human eyes demanding answers, printed names on hospital coats, ceiling tiles, etc. What is your name? Do you know where you are? The coma? Shrug. Don't remember a bit of it. Waking up is where it's all at. At once. All of it at once. Number 7. I was in a coma after a near-death experience. I remember eternal blackness and the feeling of not having a body, soul, or mind anymore. I remember feeling no emotion or nothing at all. It wasn't peaceful, but it wasn't scary either. It wasn't anything. I died when I was in the coma. Still honestly don't even know how I survived. Replied. Did you die or survive? You said you died in your coma, but in the same sentence you said you survived. I died and I survived. Hard to explain, hard to understand. There's a post on my profile that goes more in depth. My heart stopped. My brain function ceased to exist. Every part of my body just completely shut down. Was pronounced dead, but through some miraculous medical phenomena that I still don't even understand, I survived. Sorry, that's like a very small crumb of the whole story. I really don't have a strong understanding of the whole thing itself. Number 6. My niece was in a coma for about 3 months due to a TMI from a car accident. She said it felt like sleeping, but that she did not dream the whole time, and she has not dreamt since. My dad was in a coma for 2 months due to encephalitis. Thankfully, he came out of it, but he has never remembered a single dream since then. He also immediately stopped going to church. Number 5. I was in a medically induced coma for about 30 days while I was awaiting emergency heart surgery. This was right when COVID broke out, March 13, 2020, and so nothing was moving fast during this period of time, and good luck getting an ICU room in an esteemed hospital during this time. It was the craziest thing I've experienced in my life without a shadow of a doubt. I had so many crazy vivid dreams, including but not limited to being anally raped by a male nurse, being solicited for sex by a female nurse, being given weed by orderlies and nurses, having a machine hooked up to me that turned my blood into pineapple juice, parties and orgies in the hospital overnight. Lots of crazy shit. It felt so insanely real that my body and mind literally was unable to comprehend that it wasn't real. What's really crazy is that I don't even remember waking up. There was a very natural transition from the dream state to being awake. Well, maybe not exactly natural for a non-drugged mind. I thought I was being transported from the hospital to the casino of all places. But it was a very smooth transition. That made the dreams feel even more real, because there wasn't that sudden jolting moment where reality kicks in all at once. Still, to this day, those crazy dreams just feel like a part of my life. I can still remember them just as vividly as I can remember events that actually happened in my life. I can feel them, taste them, smell them. They are, for all intents and purposes, memories that may as well have actually happened to me even though they didn't. In terms of the recovery experience, that part the most. Because I was sedated for so long, I had zero muscle mass. I could not even sit up, because that would require core muscles that I didn't have anymore. I had to learn how to do everything from eating and drinking to walking to using the bathroom, all over again. Number 4. I was in a coma when I was 15. Was a passenger in a car accident and I crushed my skull. I just remember being in what felt like a dark steel sphere half filled with dark water. It wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, I wasn't scared, I wasn't happy, I just was. I felt like I was up against the side of this sphere, trying to find my bearings. My life didn't replay before me, I didn't remember people. It was surreal but real. I finally came out of the coma and felt mostly confused as to where I was, in hospital, after reconstructive skull surgery. Definitely a strange feeling. Number 3. I was starving. I woke up in a dark hospital room at like 3 a.m. Some alarm went off and the floor nurse came in. I was sitting up trying to figure out where I was and why I was even alive. The nurse saw me sitting up and tried to push me back down, and I was like, hey, scared the nurse at first, but then she got really happy I was awake. So for the next few hours I was subjected to cognitive tests, blood draws, and general medical annoyances. The whole time I was just like, when can I eat? I came out of a medically induced coma with a feeding tube, and I was unable to eat or drink anything for like a week until they finally allowed me to suck on shaved ice. I was still not allowed to even chew at this time, because I didn't know how to swallow food/drink properly. So I just had to let it melt in my mouth and sort of let it run down my throat. It felt like absolute torture spending a week conscious and being told that I couldn't eat or drink anything. That's when I fully realized how psychologically powerful eating/drinking can be. Even if your body is 100% nutritionally satisfied, your mind can't function right without you eating/drinking something once in a while. Number 2. I was only in a coma for 2 weeks, but not even joking forgot the entire year before and for the next year and a half had constant memory lapses. Don't know how movies portray people waking up and going back to normal life so fast. Reply. I had a really bad panic attack once, and this pretty much happened to me. I lost quite a bit of memories. I didn't have a stroke or anything. They checked everything. I blacked out, half my face went numb. I came to getting dressed in a room with my mother. I didn't know how I got there, why my mom was there, who called her. I'm pulling on my pants and I look up and I say, Mom? She said, yeah. I said, when did you get here? And she said, like 2 hours ago. Why? I said, well, what happened? Why are you here? Well, I recall walking to the car to go to the hospital, and I recall my boyfriend at the time driving my car to the hospital, and then that was all. Apparently, he called my mom and she came and I had an EKG and an MRI and I was fully responsive and answered all questions with ease. I gave them my DOB, my SSN, my first, middle, and last name. I told them I was in college. I told them what happened. I greeted my mom and I got undressed for all the tests, and then I redressed myself. Only to come to when redressing. I had no idea any of this happened. None of it. For the life of me to this day, I can't make myself remember any of it happening. I don't know. Number 1. I was in an induced coma after a gallbladder surgery went wrong and the surgeon accidentally cut an artery. I lost a huge amount of blood and they couldn't stop the bleeding for many hours. My family were told I may not survive the first night. I was operated on a Monday. I woke up properly on a Tuesday. I thought it was the next day, but it was the next week. The only memory I have of my time in the coma was being told we have to cut your rings off. I thought it was a dream, but it did happen. I was told it was the day after I survived the first night, as my organs were all failing and I had swelled so much that blood supply was being cut off by my wedding and clad rings. Although I didn't know I was in a coma at the time, when I awoke I had never felt more at peace. I knew something was very wrong, but it was also as if I had been somewhere else, somewhere peaceful and full of love. I don't think back on it as a good experience in any way. I spent many weeks in hospital and had to learn to eat, walk, and even breathe properly again. It took me over a year to recover, and even 3 years on, I'm delighted to be alive, but I'm still not back to full health and probably never will be. Alright folks, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us today. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your own story or thoughts in the comments below. We love to hear from you. I'll see you in the next video.